order of the Finance Committee. And I'm going to ask Mike to do his thing about the virtual meeting that we have to say.
Right. 1 second. Meetings of the Finance Committee are recorded for transmission on Rutland Public Access Television and YouTube, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 special order, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th order, imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town of Rutland Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.townofrutland.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner by watching Rutland Community Television live on channel 192 and on the town's website, www.townofrutland.org, or by viewing the recording of the meeting on the town's YouTube page following this meeting. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on Rutland's website a video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceeding as soon as possible after this meeting.
Thank you. All right.
I feel like saying if cabin pressure changes, air masks are going to fall.
That won't really happen, will it?
No. Let's hope not.
Good.
All right, moving on. Minutes from the April 9th, 2020 virtual meeting. Do I have a motion?
I make the motion to approve as printed.
Do I have a second?
Second again.
Thank you. Discussion. Any changes? All right. Motion to accept those minutes has been made and seconded. All in favor? We'll have to do a roll call vote. Karen?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted, you're muted right now.
Microphone's off.
I know he's there somewhere.
Yeah,
Tom?
he's here.
Aye. Carol? Is Carol in yet? Just Ted.
Not yet.
Ted is an aye.
An aye. All right. And Carol still has not arrived, right?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Motion passes. Unanimous. Well, moving on to new business. Fiscal 21 budget discussions. It looks to me like we're still even doing the way we want with the mandatory budget from last year. We're still going to be short by about 153,000. So, Mike, what's your thoughts?
I have been notified by Dan Beatty at the school department that they are currently reworking on the on their budget. They asked us for a deadline to get it to them. I told them that we are still waiting for a date for our town meeting, which was the original ask. However, we'd like their number as soon as possible because that's going to affect what we do with our own budget. Dan said he did understand that completely. The 156 that you see here does come with me adjusting revenue slightly. I really don't want to go any further than that on our revenue side. At the bottom of the screen, which I will be pulling up shortly, it's just loading here. I did put a small description as to what makes up our revenue number, so you guys could see that as well. I have that right here. But yeah, we are 153,370, which is a lot better than last week's 300. So I have been meeting with all our department heads to see where we can have some room. And to be honest, we're getting there. I really think we'll be in a good spot, and my goal is within 2 weeks' time to have a fully balanced budget.
Okay.
But you'll see from our tax levy, we collect $17.4 million just in property taxes. Of that, we always subtract $100,000. That's for the abatements that people put in. Our cherry sheet revenue that we get is about 1.1 million. That's what we're not sure if the state is going to reduce that number at all because of the uncertainty right now with the state's budget. In local receipts, that's everything that's not taxes that we collect, or not property taxes, excuse me, that we collect. That's about 3.5 million, and then $200,000 of free cash.
Okay. And this is with the Wachusett giving us which number, Mike? Level from last year?
That's the current number. No, that's their current assessment that they've charged us before, not level.
Did you really
Okay, so
think, Ian, the school is going to go level funded to last year?
I was saying, did we put it as level funded? That's what I was asking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
I know
no,
better.
this was the assessment, yeah.
I know
this
that
is the assessment that they had earlier.
Monday night, I know that Michael and myself got invited to a virtual meeting from the subcommittee on budgets for the school committee Monday from 7 to 9. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but
I'm also waiting to see what happens with that meeting. I'm wondering if they remember that Monday is President's Day.
Holiday, right?
Correct. But which case there's already a meeting on the select board on Monday, so I'm waiting to hear back from them to make sure they actually did want to meet on Monday, and I'll be sure to let you know about that too, Ian.
okay.
So this still has their
Okay.
$750,000 increase for the schools, right?
Correct. Yeah.
That's
And
the
they're
only
looking.
budget- That's the only budget we have.
All right, so they're reworking it, so we can expect that number could be maybe $1 less than it was, right?
I was thinking more like an increase, actually.
Yeah, we aren't sure if they.
Why would that be the
It is
case?
something we're talking.
Because
So
now they're going to need more Chromebooks and more computers and more stuff because we're going to end up doing video school from now on, probably. Who knows with them?
Well, then they can sell a building or two.
I like that idea.
I'm just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I'm just new to this whole thing. But excuse me, I don't understand how we can have a number that we have right now at $22.4 million, and we don't know if that number, if we have any chance of hitting that number, right? Because we don't know what the revenues are going to be. That's still out. That's something that's still being questioned. We don't know what the school numbers are going to be. If Ian's right, then they're going to increase that. I don't know. This just seems like a futile effort here.
I think at this point we have no choice but to wait and see what they come up with and then come back. I mean, and see what the state tells us too. I mean,
That's
right
the
now
point,
we
yeah.
can't really vote on a budget because, in my opinion,
The only issue is going to be is if we sit around and wait for Wachusett to get us our number, we might be doing the 112 budget for 6 months.
correct.
Because if DESI comes out and tells them to prepare to do a 112 budget, that's exactly what they're going to do, and they're not going to be too concerned about the towns and how that affects them.
So Karen, would the 1/12 budget be 1/12 on what they've submitted, or
Yep.
the 2020?
2020,
current
1/12
year's
of what they had last year.
Okay, which is $700,000 up. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
which is $700,000 down to what they submitted. So effectively, if they go to 1/12, it's going to cut the budget.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. But then that also means that in order for us to be able to continue, we'd have to go to a 1/12. And as Mike stated, that creates a lot of extra work on everybody within the town.
All right, so I guess I don't understand that. if the school systems go to 112, do we all have to go to 112?
Well, because we don't have a budget, we won't have a level budget.
Well, all right. So
What
if
we-
the school systems, I'm sorry, Mike, but I'm just trying to understand. If the school systems decide to go 112, it's going to be $700,000 less than what we are now. Why can't we put in that 112 budget into our budget and then vote on our budget?
No, the school system's not gonna go, it's, if we don't have a budget, we go to a 112 budget. That's everybody, not just the school. School doesn't decide when they start their budget. It's when
Okay.
the towns submit or set their budgets. Then, if there's no budget, and it goes with what Mike was saying, then everybody goes to a 112 budget.
Okay. I've always
Yeah.
heard that the schools are by themselves, so I just thought that they had their own.
Well, in
Little
essence,
fight
they are, once you set their budget, they are, yes.
Okay.
So what we could do,
Just like I said
as a way
last
to
week,
avoid
if I
us,
can for a second, is I'm
Yeah.
still worried about we may be under last year's numbers with revenue. If we don't have the revenues, how are we going to even sustain a level budget from last year?
Excellent point. Excellent point.
And that's what we're saying.
yeah,
We don't have numbers.
Correct.
I mean, all the taxes have been put off until July for the state.
Yeah.
Their income. Their lottery numbers are down significantly, and that's a lot of our money,
correct.
you know? So there's a lot of questions on what's going on.
Well, things like the gas tax is down, right? Nobody's
Correct.
driving. I mean, there's just going to be a tremendous shortfall in revenues.
So we need numbers. We need harder numbers than what we have.
Right.
And we're not going to see those for a while with the way things are going.
So what do we do in the meantime? I mean, I'd
We're
like to
asking-
meet with all you guys and see you on the screen and stuff, but what do we do in the meantime?
Now, Mike's been meeting with the chairs. We're trying to cut down our budget numbers, so at least we're getting down to bare bones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at, and we call and we talk to our state reps and our state senator, and Mike's in touch with the offices in Boston. We're trying to get numbers. But there's other things that are coming up, and we've got the special meeting. We've got we still have this things that we need to continue cleaning up from this fiscal year.
Right.
Correct.
I'm sure every town in the state is in the same predicament.
I agree.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah, we have, the governor's office has a conference call with all the mayors, town administrators, and town managers across the state every Tuesday, and this has come up consistently multiple times in every meeting that we've had. It's just we don't know. So it's not just us by any chance of the means, and it's not just us looking at level funding now too. It's Sterling, Paxton, and Princeton have all put in the same orders of their departments as well.
Now, we did get a response from our superintendent, which I believe everybody got a copy of.
Yes, it's in your folders.
Which really doesn't say much,
No,
but
it just acknowledges that they got the letter.
Yeah.
that's all. Yep. So we'll see. Maybe we'll find out more of if they do have that meeting on Monday night, and maybe I'll find out more of what's going on and what their thoughts are.
So there are 3 towns so far that have given the indication that they will vote unfavorably, or is there more?
3.
3.
Rutland, Paxton, and Princeton.
Okay.
And Sterling is saying that they're.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mike. Go ahead. Isn't Sterling saying they're going to?
Sterling sent a directive, or not a directive out to all of their departments saying to level fund their budgets, and they copied Dr. McCall on that email to say that they're looking to cut every department in their budget, and they were including the school in that,
So there's four towns now.
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay.
It's just Sterling's came from the town administrator rather than one of the boards of the town. That's what the difference is.
Okay.
But Peter, the one thing that you need to know is all of the finance committees, all of the select boards, every board in town can say we disagree. And it's the taxpayers that make the decision, not us.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
But if our job is to recommend to the taxpayers favorably or unfavorably on a budget,
Right.
it's got to have an impact.
Again, as they made a point of letting us know when they were at our meeting, how many of their employees live in our town.
Yeah, well, great.
And sometimes they don't think about the town over themselves.
Well, I mean, so everybody's got their own personal interest, and I understand that. Everybody's, it's hard to be objective when your paycheck is so subjective, and I understand all of that. But the idea here is that, somebody at some point in time is going to have to make a very tough decision as to what they're going to have to do, and where the members of a department may feel, well, geez, I don't want to cut back. They may end up facing, who are they going to lay off?
Right.
Right.
We could be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're just going to beat a dead horse here. I mean, there's not a lot that we can go through, Mike, with you on the budget as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure about anybody else wants to go line by line. I'm more than willing to take that time, but I mean, until we hear more from the school, I think we move on and come back at this again next week with more information.
Hopefully.
Ian, you mentioned that we have to clean up this fiscal year. Are we ready to do that at this point? Is there energy and time we can put into that now, what we can take care of?
That's where I was heading to next. Yep. With the town warrant information, I think we can go through some of that and do the special things that need to be done. Mike, you wanted to, we talked a little bit about trying to maybe do both at once, but I'm not sure that time-wise we may end up having to have the special town meeting quicker now.
Well, I have one. Go ahead.
No, is yours about the budget, Karen?
Yeah. Going through the budget, I do see that we have all these different, it's not much, but as you're going through, we've cut, Board of Health is doing part of their secretary's wages out of a revolving fund. I think it's the same with Planning Board. I think Conservation, there's a lot of them. Can we ask RDIC to do the same? It's only $550, but every little bit counts at this point.
Sure, I can do that.
So should we make a motion so that Mike can go and ask them?
No, I don't think we need that motion right now. I think Mike can ask first.
Okay.
And then he can come back and let us know, and if we have to make a motion to,
Okay.
They really, what do they have for a revolving fund? Because I'm looking, I didn't see the revolving fund number.
They have an article that they pay out of. The article was from when they had the trees logged at the site a couple of years ago. The money was then appropriated at town meeting into a special article account for RDIC use. So they've been paying their secretary out of that before the last year when they asked it to go in the general fund, and that was the first year.
Okay, so we would actually have to have an article to change it back, Michael?
No, it's just, we tell them, it's just where we do the payroll sheets out of for the current, I believe, vacant secretarial position.
Oh, so they're not paying anybody anyway?
Not at this current time. Tamika, you're not on that one, right? No, okay.
All right, so we'll have you ask that, and then we'll go forward from there. If we need to make a motion, we'll go.
Okay.
That was a good pickup, Karen. All right, let's go back to this town warrant. Special town warrant articles.
So I spoke with Ian earlier today, After speaking with Lauren Goldberg, who's our town council, and a couple of the other town administrators who are on the small town administrators association, there's about 50 of us, to see what we're doing here. And it seems like the goal with everyone is like we were talking about last week, of trying to make this town meeting as simple as possible. And I also spoke with Randy and Anita as well. They've all recommended that we consider combining the two meetings, and rather than having a special and an annual, just have one meeting, which is allowed fully by law. What we've done in the past is typically done the special to close out the fiscal year and the annual to start the fiscal year. Even because of the governor's current order, the special can be extended just as much as the annual can. And the reason for combining the two, particularly with Randy and Anita, is our requirement that in between meetings, people have to leave and then check back in. Now, the specials have typically been smaller than the annual, but it's making sure people are following the proper social distancing requirements while they're checking in. If we now send a group of people back outside and then have a longer wait coming in, are we really controlling the crowd the best we could, and things of that nature? Plus, it reduces the amount of time that we have everyone together in the auditorium. Southwick tried to do it by having their meeting outside for their special and setting a bunch of chairs out in a field with a bunch of speaker systems. I don't believe we have that capability here, nor do I think that that would be a feasible option to do. So they did their special that way. But combining the two meetings together, I feel, just saves time. It's fully allowed by law. And we've received guidance from our legal counsel as to how we can simplify the warrant itself as well. So long as we provide the proper backup documentation, which is what is considered binding by law as the intent behind the vote, to go forward there. So that's what's reflected in the warrants there, and I'll pull that up in a second, unless anyone has any questions about what I just said.
We don't have a date yet, do we?
Not yet. The select board's meeting on Monday to talk about that. If you remember last week, they did ask all the boards and commissions for input. The only one that's given informal input is the planning board, who said they'd like to see sometime mid to late June, but they didn't take a vote on it to formalize it. But as of now, a member of the select board has thrown out Saturday, June 27th. The statute does allow town meeting to happen after that time, but the law that was passed about elections said it has to happen, the election has to happen by June 30th. So the idea was that is to have some sense of normalcy where we have town meeting the Saturday before the election. But the date has not officially been set yet.
So do you need something in writing from each member of the board? Because I know I voiced my opinion last week that right now everything's so much up in the air that I think we're pushing it to try to get it done by the end of June.
Yeah, no, I do have that in my list. Yeah, I'm just talking about the full committees that have done something with the planning board.
Okay. So guys, do we want to make a motion? Do we want to do something? Because we want to make sure that the select board realizes what our thoughts are, because otherwise we won't have a say, so we better say it now.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to have a motion made, so.
Yeah, because they're meeting Monday, Mike, to vote on a date.
It's on the agenda. They don't have to vote on Monday, but it's on the agenda, so they could.
Well, then I think we should definitely make a motion and know where we stand. What we thinking?
I'm open to hearing a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we recommend to the select board that at this point, June 27th might be beyond our ability, and we're unable to say when a good time would be, so we have to kind of wait and see.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second discussion. Okay. Take a vote. All in favor? Karen?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Carol's still not with us? No. Ted?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Maybe.
Just trying to see if she's there.
I think Carol's car maybe didn't start.
Okay. All right, so we'll send that off to them, and we'll see what they talk about on Monday. All right. Next, do you want to go over any of these special? And so we have some ideas, and we've talked about them.
I personally would think that's a good idea, because especially with the format changes that KP is suggesting we look at, I'd like to at least introduce them to you guys to get some feedback on them before we spend money to have legal go review them just to throw them out.
Can you bring that up on the screen, Mike, or not?
Yeah. No, I can. I'm working on that as we speak.
Am I right in reading there's only 5 articles?
No. That would have been the previous special. But what we're doing, the combined would look like this. There's 23 articles total if we combine the 2 meetings.
So do we want to go through all 22, or how do we want to handle this?
Well, we can go over, my recommendation would be, as we've done in the past, is the ones that involves free cash, we might as well go over because we can make decisions on that. The ones on the budget, we can't make any decisions because we don't have a budget.
Right, that was my thought.
You'll see in your folder too, I also included the draft motions for this year too, which is the earliest we've had motions before. If the numbers on the motions are in red, that means that those numbers are going to change. If they're in bold black, that means they are the actual numbers. So Ian, do you want to just go through these then?
Yeah, let's just go through them. I have that in front of me too. Go ahead.
All right. The article number 1, if you'll excuse me just one quick second, I'm pulling up the backup information here so I can get you actual numbers. Article 1 is the snow and ice deficit. As of right now, as of 2 days ago, that was at $29,000.
Okay.
29,000 this morning.
14. We didn't go out last night, did we?
I don't believe so, but we're scheduled to get 3 to 5 over the next 2 days.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So
But
it all depends on that.
Everybody's home. We don't have to plow roads.
Don't plow a road. Everyone's staying home.
Then,
all right.
All right. Article 2, the police department. Chief Monaco is requesting that we get those solar-powered radar signs. He's looking for 2 of them. These are ones we can move around the town. Yes, they're mounted in the ground, but the mount itself can stay, and we just move the actual post, and then it's the software to back it up. This would be $5,800 of free cash.
Is there no grants on this, Mike?
There are, not really for that. Pedestrian safety grants go mainly for intersection flashers. So like you push a button and it flashes so you can cross the street safely. We have put in for one of those on Main Street by the Woodhouse. And we're waiting to hear back, but the state's kind of put a halt on all grant programs currently. So.
All right. Any questions on those speed signs or any comments?
I guess in general, because of the way the times are, in general for all of these warrants, I mean, if it's something for safety or for health or whatnot, it's pretty good. But otherwise, we're kind of already in the deficit, and we're looking at putting more money in. So we got to really think about what we're going to recommend, I guess.
And again, these can't even be. Okay.
No, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I said these can't even be published until we have a town meeting date.
Right.
And even then, we're required by law to post the warrant a minimum 14 days in advance. So a recommendation technically doesn't have to be made until 5 minutes before the meeting, but we should have numbers at least by the time that the meeting's posted. But at least now you have an idea of where we are, so that when it comes time, we can just go through and vote.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next one.
Article 3 is taking the money that we appropriated at the fall town meeting to redo the walkway at the community center, because we got the grant for the equivalent amount to do the same work. So this would allow us to do that. The exterior doors are rusting out on the bottom, and it's causing a mice problem at the community center in their kitchen. So that's why I said repairs to the exterior doors and kitchen. It's work Nancy's been looking to do for a while, but hasn't had the funds to do so. So this just moves it from one thing that we've already appropriated money to another.
Okay.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Is that a kitchen door, or is that repairs to the kitchen?
The kitchen door and then the cabinets also need to be replaced in some cases, but it wouldn't be able to cover fully both. We probably have like $500 left over for the cabinets, and then Nancy's actually looking for external funding through an earmark in the state budget with Senator Goby's office for the rest.
How many? It sounds like it's a few more than just one door.
Like that then?
It's 2 doors. What is that?
Should that motion reflect that then and actually say that, what you just said? So everybody knows
Well,
what's
this is,
involved with it?
I mean, we can clarify that in the motion. This is just a warrant article. And then when Nancy has a fuller scope, I can clarify it in the motions.
Okay.
So that's basically just moving money from what the town has already given her that we didn't use into that account.
Correct. I know I did say earlier that the state kind of is re-looking at the grants that they've given. This is one that we've fully secured. So this was safe to move. In fact, the works should be starting shortly on that.
Okay. Moving on.
Article 4, Chief Knipe informed us that due to a series of circumstances, of which all are listed in your Google Drives, I pull it up, but then I'd have to close this. He looks like he's going to be about ballpark 10 grand short in the purchase services line for the public safety building. Some of that deals with the increases in water sewer rates. Some of it deals with trash collection and next amp bills. These are all, again, are more detailed, included in the folder that you have in your Google Drives on your Chromebooks.
I have it in front of me, Mike.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The problem is that he's asking for $11,490. So what's being taken out of here? He is $1,250 for security door and key fob repairs, $1,000 for elevator repair after state inspection, $2,450 for trash removal. Moved to this account 2 years ago from DPW due to that account being underfunded. This expense was never part of this line item. $2,500 for water and sewer rate increase not budgeted. $2,200 increase in electric bill, and $2,090 for COVID-19 building cleaning contract, FEMA reimbursable.
Correct.
So
it's a 2,090 that he's probably taken out of that, Karen, because FEMA's going to give us that money back.
well, then we're giving him too much money.
You have to make sure the money comes back. That's the question.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so I've been hearing about this problem with the electric bill at the public safety building now for, I want to say 2 years, 3 years maybe. Have we done anything with it, or are we just going to keep hearing over and over and over and over and over again that the electric bill is just high?
Laura and I did meet with Nexamp, who is the person providing that. We were informed that bills can only be readjusted under our current contract every 6 months. So once June hits, because we met in February before Laura went out on leave, I said the same exact thing you just said to them, and they seemed to get the point by they left. At least I made it a point that they got the point. So hopefully, I hate to say that, and then if this doesn't go back, I'm probably going to say we're going to be looking for someone else.
So I understand that the general populace maybe might not have known about the water and sewer rate increase and how much it was going to be and whatnot, but I know we were talking about it well in advance, so I guess why didn't Mr. Knight better pad that account knowing that we were looking at some pretty steep increases last year?
That I'd have to check into.
And we have no well up there. Is that right, Tom?
That's correct.
That's the only way to save some money.
Yeah.
There's a well down by the pool that's not being used.
Wonder what that would cost us to bring back, pump up to the station to use for cleaning and different things.
Used to
You
keep.
gotta be careful with that too, if you make sure, how you separate that, because if it gets to be a well that too many people use, then you gotta have, the state involved with quality control and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're just talking about the fire station.
Yeah. Well, no, I know.
Maybe
but how
cleaning
how many
cleaning the
people-
vehicles or something.
It goes by how many people actually use it, like in a, I know from building and residential, there's only so many bedrooms you can have in a well before it's a public water supply.
But if you have it set up just for the cleaning of the vehicles, Dave, do you think that would be?
I don't know, you'd have to make sure it doesn't get piped into the house, into the building. It can't be used in a coffee maker, can't be used for cooking with, can't, that kind of stuff, then maybe. it'd be
Right,
all right.
absolutely.
I don't know,
Yeah,
you'd
that's
have to
not what
call-
I'm looking for it for.
The state, but yeah.
And the
It's
fact
something to
is,
look at.
even if we use that, I'm on well and septic, so I don't know, but I think even if you bring water in and you dump it down, we're gonna get paid on sewer anyway, right?
It would only,
Isn't that how it works?
Yeah.
not if you put a well water for an outside spigot where it doesn't go into the sewer system, it wouldn't be metered.
Yep, okay.
That is true. We did install a separate meter on there too to make sure all of our the water that we're using to wash the truck doesn't go down doesn't get charged on sewer because it's going through a separate water meter.
Great.
And we can deduct it that way.
Okay. It'd be interesting to see what that number is and if a well would save us money in the long run.
Sounds good. I'll look into it.
And the other part on that is the trash removal. Do we have a deal with those people, Mike?
They
on how
have
much
the.
they charge the town. I mean, they must do all of our things.
They do the whole town. Yeah. I'd have to check to see what the contract is with them. We do have one with them in order for them to provide that service. I'll have to check what it is. I know it's something that this isn't the first time this year that that's been mentioned. So it is something we're already looking at. And look at that.
I mean, if they're getting that's just from the fire department. What are they getting from the DPW, and what are they getting from your office and from town hall and all that? So.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on the FEMA reimbursement on that COVID-19,
Mhm.
do we need to give him that money up front, or is that?
That I've already looked. I already put in a call with our FEMA agent to verify that.
Okay.
The state Department of Public Health yesterday released all COVID numbers for every city and town statewide because so many people were complaining that their towns were not. We were. But that caused the state, FEMA and MEMA and DPH to have some issues where a lot of towns started noticing discrepancies in what were reported to them versus what was reported by DPH. So they've had their hands tied the past couple of days trying to figure out that issue. So they haven't gotten back to us yet. But I'm expecting we'll hear from them soon about that.
Any other comments or questions on that one? All right, let's move on.
Article 5 comes from Anita. It's $1,500 to bind and preserve the previous warrants and minutes from previous town meetings. We do this every couple of years. They go into books that are stored in the town record.
And that's something we need to do.
How many
Yeah.
years does $1,500 do? Do you know?
I'd have to check. I can find out for sure.
Okay.
Are we required to be able to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, is it a part of a
Yeah.
state law or something?
Yes.
As opposed to storing them in the cloud.
Correct. There are certain things that we cannot store on the cloud, and this is one of them.
Okay.
All right, next.
The next comes from the DPW. This is a result of the study of Wachusett in 68 that was passed at town meeting in November. We officially got the report a little bit ago. It's being released by the select board on Monday. This would be $15,000 to purchase signage for the intersection from free cash.
That's a lot of
This would
signage.
include,
Good question.
it's
It's
solar-powered blinking stop signs that are bigger in size, and then cross-traffic does not stop signs that go on underneath them. $7,500 per fully put together sign, stop sign, crossbar, reflective up and down pole on both sides of the intersection.
Mike, are they when they buy signs, is there like state contracts to people they have to buy them from, or is Joe able to price it on multiple different places?
He can either go off the state contract or he can go and find 3 bids himself. So this is, and I should say too, this is just the estimate from Tie and Bond Engineering that came up with that 15,000.
Okay.
That Joe is just going off to try to get the ball moving on that. When he goes out, it could go lower, but we just don't know until he goes out. But he's not allowed to go out until he has the money to do that by state law.
Yeah, it's like putting a cart in front of the horse.
But we're good at that.
Yeah.
The 30B, Mass General Law Chapter 30B says you can't go out to bid until you have your appropriation already settled. So that's where we're stuck.
And then if he doesn't spend it, he wants to use it elsewhere.
Because he already has it.
Well, he didn't need a town meeting vote to do that, but
No, I know.
yeah. So that
All
is
right.
that's there. The next one after that is also from Joe. We currently have a mountain of tree debris behind the DPW that Seth has deemed it's gotten to the point where it's a fire hazard because the tree trunks and stumps that are there are from the ice storm. Joe is looking for $6,000 to have it mulched and removed.
Oh, I don't see that.
Oh, is it?
Well,
Okay.
the
I
article,
see it now. Yeah, no, Article 7. Yeah, I see it. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay.
So we're going to use the mulch around the town community hall?
You know, we got to recycle something. But
Yeah.
no, I can check with Joe what we're doing there. But I know that it's just because it's one, getting to the part where it's hard for us to maneuver our vehicles around the area, but 2, it's just a fire hazard too. Because if that goes up, yeah, it could be the library, that could be the DPW, Marshfield. There's a lot that could.
So
Go
we
on
can't
that.
use
And again,
it
it's
as
from the ice
training
storm.
for the firemen, a controlled burn. We can't do any of that stuff?
No, we are not allowed to burn that.
Okay.
You want to
I
use
know.
my
I
burn
offered.
permit?
Was that?
You want to use my burn permit?
I don't know. I know, Karen, you're kind of joking, but just so people realize, that type of grindings cannot be used for mulch. It's full of dirt and rocks from the stumps, and it's pretty much junk.
And we don't own a chipper? I thought we owned a chipper.
The chipper won't work on
Not
something.
for that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's too big. Too big of the debris is too big, and it won't chip a stump.
So this is going to be a contract for someone to bring in big equipment and large vehicles to grind this thing up and cart it off the property, right?
Correct.
Well, when was the last time this was done? Any idea?
I mean, if this is from the ice storm, and the ice storm was in 2008,
Never.
Never.
So are they adding to the pile, Mike? I mean, because there's been a lot of trees down and stuff recently this year and in past years,
Yeah.
but do they add to it?
yeah, that is the spot where we put all tree debris for trees that we take down.
Is it a normal process for that debris to be removed? I mean, I understand
Yeah.
2008 was a significant event, and there was a lot of material there. But is it the normal process for that debris to be placed there and then do what we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I remember the old days when we used to have a bonfire at the 4th of July.
There you go.
Yeah. You know, I offered to, I threw that idea out to Joe, just put that with the Christmas trees for when they do the bonfire.
There you go.
There's just too much. There's I mean, anyone who wants to see it, I'll be happy to take you there myself. But I will say, too, for whoever asked about normal procedure, if you looked at the DPW yard when Joe and I started versus where it is today, it's already night and day. Joe, there's been just stuff that's just junk that's there that Joe has been able to, I think he's up to $10,000 in money he's brought in on stuff he's just sold. So he's in the process of cleaning it up, and we are getting a lot done there. But this is our biggest pile that's there. In fact, prior to this, the biggest pile that we had was a gravel pile, and then we repurposed the gravel to make that parking lot that's next to the library. So we're cleaning it up.
If this doesn't get done, it's just going to continue to sit there, right?
And grow. Yep.
Okay.
Mike, just because you said it and because we're finance committee, you said he sold about $10,000. Where does that money go?
The general fund, it'll fall to free cash.
Okay.
He's got an envelope in his drawer, Dave.
Well, I'm saying, you got 10,000. There's the stumps of 6,000. Go for it.
There you go.
Yeah, it'll fall to free cash next year. So we'll
Okay.
basically replenish it.
Very good. And I've seen that pile that you can't burn that stuff. Some of those trees you can't. Two guys can't wrap their arms around. It's not going to burn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you guys a
Next.
picture. Article 8. There was a article at a town meeting in 2011 that appropriated a lot of money to refurbish one of the water tanks. That work was done, and there's $100,000 left sitting in that article. Joe would like to have that transferred so that he can have the same work done for the other 2 tanks that was not done. And this is something that DEP is requesting that we do on those tanks anyway. And when Joe was going through his old articles, as I asked all department heads to do, he realized that that should be enough to do all the work that DEP is requiring us to do.
So this
It's
is
a
not
previous
new.
appropriation.
This
No.
is not new. This is something that's been done, and now he just wants to spend it. Okay.
This is leftover from something that was voted on by town meeting.
Right.
So he's
Okay.
looking to say, okay, well, we don't need it anymore over here. Let's put it here.
Right.
And those tanks have to get done.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
The next one is the same exact type of thing, Article 9. There was $30,000 left. $30,000 left in the article from the 2015 meeting where there was an article to install sewer lines on Forest Hill Drive and Christmas Tree Lane. This is left, and Joe wants to CCTV the lines and get a record of what we have in the ground there because we have no records of that pipe right now. Again, this is just moving it from one previous appropriation into a current thing that we can use.
Okay.
Is that going to be too much or too little, or is that the right number, or do we have an idea?
He thinks that should do it. Yeah, he should. That's what's left in that article, and he thinks that should be able to have it work.
All right.
All right, that would conclude what we normally have for the special. And now we're going on to what we would normally have at the annual. Article 10 is just the approval of the town report.
Next.
Article 11, Article 11 is the Bay Path assessment, which is $574,578. That is the net minimum that Bay Path could bill us per the state's guidelines.
Have you heard from them at all, Michael?
No, I think I haven't. To be honest, they seem not concerned. But they've always been good at budgeting at minimum and still being able to do what they need to do.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's already in our numbers?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Next.
Article 12 is the Wachusett School District Assessment. This is one that Town Council provided language on how we can combine them. If you remember, previously we've had 4 separate articles on the Wachusett assessment. This puts them into one. The 4 that were previous were the minimum net school spend, which is set by the state, the debt service, which is set by contract, the bus assessment that is also set by contract, and then everything else. Well, the only thing that we could really vote to change is the everything else. So Town Council has been actually requesting we do this for a while because it doesn't really make sense for us to have a vote on 3 things that we can't change. So this lumps the entire Wachusett school assessment into one, but it also gives us better footing on if the final budget, which we don't know what it is yet, is something that we do want to take a negative stance on. This actually gives us more of a stronger hand if it gets voted down, if it's in one rather than breaking it out.
Like,
Okay. Oh,
does
go ahead.
the other towns handle that the same way?
Yeah. Yep.
And we haven't until now?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
All right.
All right. Let's keep going.
Article 13, this is our municipal departments. This is the other one that Town Council has kind of suggested we combine into one. These previous, again, this is just in an attempt to make this meeting shorter and have people in the room for less time. What would have to be done with this one is the handout a handout would have to be passed out at town meeting that breaks everything down. So what this says is to fix the compensation of appointed and elected officers, provide for a reserve fund, and raise and appropriate such sums to defray the charges and expenses of the town, including debt service and interest for the fiscal year beginning or retroactive to July 1st, 2020. You'll see anything that has the July 1st, 2020 in it. Now, this year also has and retroactive to, in case we have to have town meeting past July 1st. So that's why everything now says and retroactive to. But what the motion would have to say is that this would be raising and appropriating $841,726.00 from with 200,000 of that coming from free cash. That is our municipal expenses and salaries for elected officials. And then it would also have to say this also includes transferring 110,000 from PEG Access Cable from the PEG Access Cable Fund to fund cable related expenses. We have to call that out separately in the motion because we cannot use cable funds to fund the general budget, but it can be included in the warrant article together.
So this is a pass or fail for a lot of stuff, right?
Correct. This is everything but the schools.
So, okay, so you got the school budget and then this is the rest of the budget.
Yep.
Okay, and in the past, didn't we just vote for the budget, quote unquote?
No, so what happened in the past is we voted for elected salaries in one article, the schools in 5 articles,
Right.
the all debt and interest owed by the town in a separate article, and then everything else after that.
So when this is presented to the town meeting,
Yeah.
they're going to be told that they were able to vote individually on articles in the past, and now this is all wrapping up in 2 articles?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a way to increase efficiency and save time, but the handout will have to break it out as if it was previously.
So Tommy, are you still there? Tommy? Is he
Trying to
still there?
find it.
I was trying to get my microphone back. Yes?
Okay. So what do you think? You think this is going to be received very well?
No, I think that's very untransparent,
Okay.
lumping it all together.
Because
Okay.
I think the way I'm looking at this, Mike, your idea of being, and I appreciate it, being efficient. This isn't going to be efficient. We will be spending so much time explaining every line of the budget that it's going to take us a lot longer than doing multiple articles, because we get so many questions on stuff every year on so many of the departments that now you're trying to do it in a lump sum. Are we going to have this handout out on the website 2 weeks ahead of time as well?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to get everything out 2 weeks ahead of time. To be honest, I'm trying to get it done now if we can.
Yep. Okay. I don't think
But I
it's
understand
going to
what
be
you're
as well received as the lawyer thinks it's going to be.
Well, I mean, to Karen's point, I just think that this is, and what Tom was verifying is, this is just look like we're not giving people the opportunity to make some choices. That's all.
I can say this is what most towns do, but I do understand the argument too, believe me.
Yeah, but this isn't most towns.
There's only probably, what you say, 20 or 30 towns that don't do it this way?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I mean, the first time that gets done would be the hardest, back to Karen's point.
Yep.
That there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of activity. Why can't I see this? What's going I can see it, but I can't do anything about it. I don't like that one section and I can't do anything about it, because then I have to kill the rest of the article. But the first time
Actually,
through...
no.
No?
Okay, go ahead.
No, you
No,
go ahead,
so
please.
anyone can vote to take something out of this and turn it into 13A and 13B, basically. So if you want to take something separate, that can always be done.
But that would require a motion from the floor to go ahead and do that, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's going to happen. The moderator is going to need to be able to explain that to folks, that if this is too offensive for them to be able to doing it in the aggregate here, that they would have the opportunity to present a motion to the floor to break it to the meeting, to break it out into separate articles.
Correct.
Okay.
And as I said earlier, too, the requirement that we have from the state is any town-issued handouts that we have available at town meeting, we actually have to store, because that dictates how this can be spent. So, for instance, we gave out the full budget sheet last year with the big 11 by 17. Those we still have copies of, because that dictates how we have to treat everything. Some cities and towns will do this as 13A and 13B, and we'll do all salaries in one and everything else in another. But then if the handout breaks that down, it's not so much the wording of the article or the wording of the motion, it's the wording of the handouts that supersedes.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next. We'll keep this. I mean, we're not voting on anything right now. We're all discussing, so
Let me just close
something we
it.
can all think about.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a
Article
difference.
14.
The selectmen have posted, have made these warrants, so we're stuck with them the way they've written them.
Not yet. This is the first group to see them.
They haven't placed these articles yet?
Nope.
Okay.
I didn't think they had.
Okay.
Yep,
So it's
no,
an
these are all
opportunity.
still draft. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Article 14 and 15 are the water and sewer departments. This is the same language that we do every year.
Okay.
Okay, I got a question.
Yep.
Okay, so I thought last year we went through all that operation to combine the water and sewer department. So why isn't it the combined water and sewer department under one article?
You are correct. Joe called me out on that at about 5 o'clock tonight before the meeting, but I had to go grab dinner, so this will be one article in the end. But it will have to say, with X coming from water receipts for water-related services, and Y coming from sewer receipts for sewer-related services. But this is just one account, one enterprise account, so it will just be one article.
Good.
Okay. And the way that was broken out before to specify where the funds came from, you don't have to call that out in the article?
Not in the article, in the motion, yes.
Okay.
All right, so we're on
Good, Ian.
to 16.
This is the CIPC approved the fire department buying a Lucas 3 CPR machine. If you give me one quick second, this would be the sum of $14,086.80.
Is this the machine that does its own CPI? You just hook it up and it kind of gives them everything they.
And that's not in his budget. It's a whole separate
Correct.
addition. So that number is not in our numbers as of now.
No, correct.
So this
would be a free cash expenditure.
14,000 that we're going to add to.
No,
Well, this wouldn't touch the budget, no.
This
This
is free
is a free
cash.
cash expenditure.
Oh, it's coming out of the free cash. Okay.
Might not seem like a big deal, Ian, until you're the one that needs it.
No, I'm just trying to figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So that actually could be up with the other articles on our free cash.
Yeah.
Oh, and I see the number up there actually on the CPR machine. Okay. So that really should be up on the top section.
Yeah, it's just it was submitted for the annual. That's why. What I did was I took last year's annual
Yep.
that had town report, budget, CIPC recommendations, and then everything else. So since this was the CIPC recommendation, I plopped it where last year's CIPC recommendation was.
Okay.
That's all.
Why don't we
When the
vote-
select board, go ahead.
Yeah. Why don't we this year? Why don't we shake it up a bit instead of putting Wachusett at the beginning? Why don't we vote everything else and then put Wachusett?
What? Yeah, I'm going to have to wait till the end.
Exactly. That way we vote in the town's number and then the school loses out. That'd be a change.
Smart girl, Ken. Smart.
We've been asking for that to happen for, I don't know, 11 years.
We'll bring that back up for
I
discussion.
will mention that. Yeah,
I
I will
mean,
mention that on Monday.
I mean,
Tuesday.
both Bay Path and Wachusett could be at the end, and let's put the town first for a change.
Right. I agree with that.
It's not going to matter because you're still going to have to take care of the two schools.
I agree, but it makes it that way more of the people wouldn't leave halfway through, and then we wouldn't have the elephant brigade out in the middle, and we're trying to move forward.
Right. I agree.
Mike will discuss that. They'll let him know on Monday.
Yep.
Next.
17, 18, and 19 are a direct copy and paste from last year's warrant, and those were copy and paste from the years before. Article 17 allows us to accept grants from the state and federal government or any other private agency. Article 18 allows the Board of Selectmen to vote to authorize contracts longer than 3 years. The statute says unless town meeting votes this every year, then we can only enter into 3-year contracts. And then Article 19 allows us to accept Chapter 90 money.
Okay.
Article 20 is the citizen petition we received from Mr. Louis Canacchioli to have the town purchase and install a LED sign in the town center. This language is a direct copy and paste from the article that he submitted. If you remember from the November special town meeting, this would be $30,000 request from free cash, not in the budget.
Where do we stand with free cash? Do we have enough free cash for all this stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna, well, after
numbers
this is done,
got-
I have a separate document. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes down. We have $108,913 left after all of everything we talk about tonight.
But with all the shortcomings that we're probably going to be we're cutting all these departments. In past experience, that usually means that we will need every licking cent of that for oopses when we cut things. We cut overtime, we cut all these things in it, and don't get me wrong, we have to do it. But when we have a bad year with fires, if we, all those kinds of things, if we have people that get out sick and they're on leave or they get hurt, all those things bring up overtime, and we've cut most of those down, so that's a problem, and we'll need that money to make us whole next spring.
Very well could be. It's true. That's for sure, especially with these times.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what this is going to do, if it's coming back, if it'll make a resurgence, we don't know. And every time someone gets hurt or is out and we're understaffed, that hurts those that are on the lines, and therefore the overtime goes up, which is totally understandable. But we usually cut those lines when we level fund, and then we need to pay them because that's what we have to do.
I mean, the things that you're talking about. So we've done the snow and ice.
Yep.
The 2 speed signs, the public safety building, the record binding, the 68 Route 68 Wachusett Street solar powered signs, the stump and tree removal from behind the building, the CPR machine, the LED sign, and the street survey, which we haven't talked about.
Right, that's next.
There
That's
you
the
go.
next one. But I have the thing up on the screen for those who wanted to see.
Yep.
This is the amount of each article, and this is the running total. But the next one is a street survey. This is for the road that connects Main Street with Maple Avenue. As you remember from the special in November, there was initially a proposal to have the town accept that driveway as a town road, because from Central Tree, just on the other side of Central Tree Middle School, to Maple Avenue, it's already a town accepted road. The only portion that's not is from CTMS to Main Street by Naquag. What held that up from being put on the town warrant for even consideration of the town accepting it was that there's no survey of that done. So this would be a request for $12,000 from free cash to conduct a survey of that street to see if we take it, what we'd actually be able to do. Joe is in favor of this because it would allow him greater flexibility to fix the drainage issues that we have over there. And Seth is in favor of this as well because he says it's currently a tight squeeze for a fire truck to get through that corner between CTMS and the Heights property.
But this money is just for a survey, not for repairing.
Just a survey. Correct. This is just a survey so that we have the option to vote to take it.
I get you.
Okay, so how long
Not take
is
it,
this?
accept it.
How long is this survey going to be good for? Because we're looking at some pretty tough times now, and I'm thinking we're going to need to do some pretty major work on the road. I've been down that; it's a mess. So we're not going to really have those kind of funds available. So is this going to be good for 2 to 3 years, or is this only good for a year?
Sure.
Yeah, it should be good. This is a survey to just do the meets and bounds of the road, and an elevation and your usual survey stuff here. We did $13,000 worth of work on that road last year. If you remember, we funded that back. But the survey will be good for some time after that. In fact, we just put through a survey that was done a couple years ago down from Maple Avenue with one of our engineers and one of the projects that we have for our Complete Streets program. So we were able to use that 3 or 4 years after it was done.
Okay.
Now, Mike, you're talking about once this is surveyed, then we're just going to accept it. There's not really much money involved in accepting it, correct?
Correct. There's no money involved in
Once
accepting
you
it, actually.
accept it, then it's going to get recorded in the registry of deeds. Once it's recorded in the registry of deeds, it's good for life.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter when
And-
you work on it 30 years from now. It doesn't matter.
Correct.
Once we accept
And
it.
the issue, yes. And the issue is that we're only allowed to use Chapter 90 money to repair accepted streets.
Right.
So all the work that we've done on that, we have to eat. Excuse me, because it's not accepted. So
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
that's the request.
And
To
we
start
can't,
the process, there's then a planning board.
we can't accept it without doing the survey.
Correct.
Can I get in here? Basically, what you're saying, I think what the problem is that roadway from Main Street down to Central Tree School is just a driveway that's on town property. There's no formal layout of the road at this point in time is what the problem is, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So once the survey is done, will there be requirements to make the road acceptable?
Not
I mean,
unless we want
In
to.
order for us to take it, you mean?
Yes.
So it's a little different than the usual process because we own the land that the road is on.
Okay.
So normally what would happen if we were accepting a road, and I'll use Karen Way as an example because there's a group of citizens there that are thinking of requesting the town to accept that come this November, is they need to submit to the town the survey that lays the ways and shows what the road actually is and what we're actually taking.
Mhm.
And then Joe would be like, this is all the work that needs to be done and we're not going to take it until that's done. Or if we do it for you, we're going to charge you a betterment. However, we own the land. So it's up to us to make the repairs anyway. So this would set the stage for us to be able to take it. And any repairs that we'd have to make or that would have to be made to the road that we would normally require for a private street for us to take, we'd be the ones having to take it anyway. So it's, do we fix it with money from our free cash or our tax levy, or do we fix it with Chapter 90 grant funding money?
So
And that's where we are.
So the survey is just a qualification. You get that done.
Correct.
You accept it as is, and then after that, you maintain it and upgrade it and do whatever you need to.
And the steps that come in between there are the planning board has to have a public hearing on the acceptance and a decision on the acceptance to recommend. The selectmen then have to put it on a town meeting warrant in the future, and then the town has to vote to accept it.
Okay.
So Mike, I happened to pick up the backup.
Yeah.
Can we pay him ahead of time? When we sign the contract with him, can we pay him the 11 grand so that we save $1 grand?
If it's in Joe's budget, yes.
Well, no. If we give him if we say we're going to pay for this to do this survey, instead of asking for 12 grand, we ask for 11 grand and pay him up front. We save $1,000. I know it's not a lot, but it's a lot when it comes to we got to add all these little things up to be able to balance everything.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, because that is right there. It says pay discounted rate of 11,000 if payment is received in full with signed contract.
Yes, we can do that.
All right, next.
Article 22 is our only zoning bylaw proposal, and this would be an agricultural accessory use. If your land is zoned agricultural, you can do certain things on it, like hold events and things like that. This really only affects places like Schultz Farm, if they'd like to do weddings, which is a plan that they'd like to do one day, and things of that nature. If you're zoned with special APRs or things like that. Dave has the backup on this, but today was his day out of the office because we're on rotating schedules and working from home. So I didn't get to upload that at this time, but I can upload it soon. He's also going to be meeting with the Agricultural Commission at some point in time between now and when town meeting is scheduled, whenever it may be, to get their opinion on this. But again, this would just allow for certain extra uses to be allowed in areas that are zoned for agricultural use.
What do they have to do now? Go to get a special permit for a one-day use or something if they do something like that?
Yes, but in some cases the special permit process isn't there.
Okay. This makes it easier for them.
If they're looking,
but they're not going to be able to just do it every day. You still got to. I mean, they can.
Yeah, they still need prior approval and some other stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, a liquor license, they would still have to get approval for it separately.
Well, traffic
Correct.
control, so the police need to be involved.
Yep.
EMS.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask the question that no one likes to ask, but has there been town public meetings on this and everything like that that were supposed to have been done?
That's a question everyone should always ask. Otherwise, we're going to end up like there's a town that, anyway, I learned about it in school.
We're going to end up in jail.
Exactly. No, we don't want a simple thing like this. We don't want it thrown out by the Attorney General's office just because the proper process wasn't done. Dave is in the process of scheduling those with the planning board to make sure, because it's a zoning bylaw, it needs to have a public hearing done. Now that we have guidance on how we can conduct public hearings via Zoom, that's all stuff that's currently in the works and being planned.
Okay, so we have it. So we want to place it on the town meeting warrant before we've even thought about that. Yeah, let's talk about putting the cart before the horse. Shouldn't we have the meetings first to make sure that the bylaw is the way that the public wants it before we just ram it down their throat? Remember what happened in November, folks?
Yes, I think it's just these were already planned to happen, and then we have to stop night meetings. It's just the situation we're in. I can say in the past, at least, let's skip November and let's go to May. The public hearings were happening concurrent to the warrant article placements, which if you look at the timeline we have now, until we have a date, we can't even post it. So technically we can always just pull this off the warrant beforehand too. So I feel like that's how we go around. If this does get to the point where we are in a spot like that, I will be the one recommending to the select board that we pull this, particularly because it is a zoning bylaw change that requires 2/3. But I think it's an excellent point.
Well, because the only thing I don't like, and the finance committee has been forced in a lot of cases where these things get placed on the warrant and posted, and then they go, whoops, we're not ready. So then we have to vote to take no action. And I prefer not to have that, because that just doesn't make the taxpayers feel all warm and fuzzy.
Well, no, and in fact, the example that I was using was a town just east of here that only wanted to change every reference to the phrase Board of Selectmen in their zoning bylaws to Select Board, and no public hearing was held on the word change. They just like, oh, it's just a simple word change, let's just do it. And the AG's office threw it out because they never had the public hearing. You don't want something like that happening for something like this either.
Right.
So we will make sure all the proper processes are happening.
All right, next.
Article 23 allows Randy to appoint the members of the Finance Committee.
Can we change that? No. And that's the end of it?
Yep.
All right, so let's get us some answers, Mike, and we'll discuss them again the next meeting.
You got it. You got it.
So what happened with the 25 bylaw changes?
Those will be postponed to a later town meeting.
Okay, and after
For the sake of-
November's debacle of last year, we're not going to do them next November. Please, remind the select board that last year we had an awful lot of pushback on that. So let's not get us all in that mess again.
I will be sure to remind them of that.
All right, any old business? Any other business?
I just, after you close the meeting, I have a techno question for my phone.
I got one question before that question. While we're doing these Zoom meetings, would it be possible to do it at 6 instead of 7, seeing as we're not waiting for a room, or do we have to do it at 7?
Good with me.
6 is good with me.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yep, works for me.
Okay.
It just seems like, why not do it earlier if we're all at home anyway?
And then
I'll
that
take
way,
it.
I won't be too early next time.
Yeah. Call me up at 6 and saying, how come I can't get on?
Yeah.
Because the meeting's not happening.
David, are you on?
What about you, Ted?
Yeah, I would be okay with that.
All right, and Carol still, we don't know what happened to Carol tonight, but
I did have another question if,
sure.
just in terms of thinking back to the free cash, and some of those special town meeting articles. Let's just say that things do look bleaker than we have optimism about right at the moment, kind of what Karen mentioned. When is our last chance to say, look, we don't think this is a good idea. We need to keep that free cash as free cash because we don't have any cash free or otherwise. What is kind of our time frame for that?
The finance committee can make a negative recommendation anytime up until the moderator gavels in town meeting.
So right down to the wire.
So do we have a goal for free cash? Do we have an expected amount or balance that we really should be carrying as free cash?
I like to keep $100,000. And the reason being is the $150 that we get for the budget every year comes from the free cash that we get in the fall. So this is from the 430 something thousand dollars that we have remaining now is what's left over from what we spent in November, because we get our free cash at the end of every fiscal year. So in November, you always want to have at least 300 because you put away 150 of it and then you play with the rest. We had a really good year last year, so we were able to have, I think it was close to $800,000. We spent what we spent in the fall, and now we're here with 430 something. We need 150 of that for the budget at minimum. I bumped that to 2, so we would have some extra revenue because of the current situation that we're in. And then try to have at least 100. That way, if something hits the fan, we can cover it.
Do we feel?
But we'll get more. We'll get our next free cash numbers in September, and it's probably going to be close to 8 again.
Is it really? You're expecting maybe another 8, especially in this time?
Because that's all of this current year. So all of the free cash numbers we're going to get in September,
right,
are going to be for this current year before any of this happened. So money that we don't currently spend, or any money that we got in higher than expected, is all going to fall to free cash next year. So I wouldn't doubt if it's at least 6 or 7. Probably 6. 6 is my conservative. Yeah.
But it leads you to the point, or at least to a logical point that says, if we're anticipating a nominal or a regular amount of money as free cash going from September to September, would we want to be able to say, when that becomes available, we are not going to look to be able to only carry 100,000. We're going to have to be a lot more conservative in what we spend, because next year's free cash is going to be based upon what's going on this year, right?
Next year's free cash will come from the budget that starts on July 1 of this year. This September, we're going to get all the free cash from last July to June 30th.
Yeah, but aren't we in a period of time now? We're in this time from February through June, where we might not see a lot of revenues, the state?
I mean, yes, but we've already gotten our money from the state.
We've gotten our money from the
state.
So,
yeah, so everything that was already budgeted for this current year,
right,
we've got. The only thing we're missing is some third quarter taxes that make up most of our budget.
Okay,
but
and you're pretty confident.
We've gone strong for this, yeah.
So you're pretty confident that we would anticipate the 600,000 or so in September going into the fall time, and then we go through the period of time, the annual meeting next time. If we spend the same amount of money out of free cash that we did that time, we're going to have maybe 100,000 or so left. And then going into the fall of the next year, would we anticipate another 600,000 then, or something less than that?
That all depends. That all depends on how next year go. Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to get to.
So you're really looking at 2 years out, Pete. Is what you're thinking.
I'm starting to see the cycle. We got money, we get money back, we spend it, it goes around again, we get money again, but we're always anticipating that as we get to that second year out, that we're still going to have money. And where we may not see it as being an impact here now, we may be seeing it as we go into the next year.
Absolutely.
And what's that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just concerned that I don't know if we can. I don't know if it's not even legal, but I would look at it from the perspective of trying to manage as much of a free cash as a reserve, and pocket as much as we can to protect down the road.
Well, I think we do that, and I think that's what we're looking at in September. Again, once we see the number, and then for the November ballot, it would be up to the finance committee and the town to look at what those warrant articles are and what they're spending the money on.
Okay.
Whereas we were very, very good with that this year, where we saved, the 430,000.
So to David's point, we're heading into tough times. So we may have to be a lot more conservative about some of the things that are being requested in the future than we have in the past.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Ian, could I pipe in for a second? Just, Pete, to give you an example of some stuff that was done, Margaret's last year, in Rutland, was the schools came in higher than the town could afford, so they cut a bunch of stuff from the budget. When the free cash came in September and they had the November town meeting, they appropriated an equivalent amount of free cash to fund everything that was cut in the spring.
Okay.
That's one way the town has been able to do things with the budget when they've been in a bind, is they make the cuts in the spring and then uncut them in the fall with the free cash money that they have. Prior to that, another avenue that the town has done, which I will never recommend, but it's something that the town has done, is that they've left the annual town meeting with a budget that they know is in the red, with the hopes that they'll get at least that in free cash in the fall, and to just say, let's make it so it's not in the red now. That's always a gamble, because if you leave your annual town meeting in the red, one, there's some issues with the state, but two, you never really want to put yourself where you're gambling on layoffs in the fall, because you don't have that money.
Is free cash like a reserve? Can you treat from a state government perspective? Can you treat free cash as a reserve and say, I'm going to leave $100,000 into it this year. I'm going to add $100,000 next year, add 100,000, and get to the point where you might be carrying $1 million in free cash for these blips that may come up.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Just a
And
thought.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Pete, but we never get our free cash money in September, ever.
Ever.
We are usually waiting until about 5 minutes before the special town meeting when we finally get certified free cash.
I remember that meeting. I remember that discussion we had, Karen.
Yep.
Just before that meeting.
So,
Okay.
All right. Any other business?
Tom,
Just as a heads up, because for everyone, because the finance committee was the one who initially had to approve it to get on the town meeting warrant in November. The water work that is being funded through the loan that we took out at the November town meeting is going to officially start on Monday, May 4th.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
That's all I have.
All right. Anything else? I'll accept a motion to adjourn from somebody.
make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
A second.
I'll second you.
Thank you. Roll call. Tom?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Karen?
Absolutely not. I.
All right. The Finance Committee meeting is adjourned.